Hello everybody, and this video is basically gonna explain everything. There's been a lot of confusion, and I'm gonna say that honestly. There has been a lot of confusion going towards who can use what character in the Jailbroken's universes. So I'm gonna be running them down. I'm gonna be starting off with also how did we get 80% of the show? Well, I'm glad you asked. It all started back in, I believe, July, around a year ago, where I convinced Miguel to join Modium Studios. He said yeah, so I signed him on to be with us till 2015. Now, I bet you're asking right now, is Miguel still with Modium? He says no, however, but in a way, yes, he is under a Modium banner, but he is operating by himself, so yes and no. It's under a banner till 2015, but he can do what he wants, and we're not gonna limit him that. Okay, moving forward, we obviously through that contract we got 30% of literally everything from the Apprentice Op's name, meaning Jailbroken. We had 30% of Jailbroken from that contract, and why is that? That 30% was marketing and advertising, so we can do that. So that's how that 30% came into play. So moving forward a couple months later, in fact, I believe either April or May of this year, no, April, it was first April, I went up to Miguel and I said, hey dude, I want to do comp ops, I want to do this, and I also want to put you a part of the Modium Cinematic Universe. But I'm gonna need to buy some stuff from you. And he said, yeah, sure. And I had him name his price, and I explained to him everything that was gonna go down. I explained to him that I would now own those rights for Paul Diamante and Officer Ty. I would also need some cameo and full screen rights for Miguel Escobar and Jaden Subas. What do full screen rights mean? It means that I can put him in comp ops for full length episodes. But, moving forward to the cinematic part, putting them a part of the Modium Cinematic Universe would be different because I would have the rights to put Miguel Escobar's character in the Astonic Elites. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I was developing a cinematic universe. Meaning that if it's part of the cinematic universe, I can put Miguel to verse Shady O'Malley. Just for say. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, by signing that, he would live in the same universe as all these other characters. So yeah, me and him were talking about it. And then I said, alright, dude, I bail him out of something. I had, the deal was originally $20, but it dropped down to $15 because I helped him pay off this kid named Paul that he owed money to. So, yeah, I just said, yeah, I'll just add it to your tab. Of course, it wouldn't be an extra $5. Like, you'd still get 20 and I spent $5. No way. I'm not rich. I know the background yet. Just leave it alone. Yeah, so by signing, but here's the thing, how did we get 80%? Because, as of right now, I'm only explaining how the characters came to be. Well, this contract basically explains that because I wanted Jailbroken to be merged with the cinematic universe. So, it's actually a misstep of what the contract meant to translate. I wanted to say we would be bumped up to 50%, that we would have now 50% of the show. But it's the way it was translated. When I said 50%, I meant, honestly, to get 50% of the show, half of it, so it would be merged to exist with all these other characters. And remember, the 30% would revert back, meaning that the 20% would remain with us, just in case Miguel left Modium. We can continue this cinematic universe with it. What I didn't realize is the way I wrote it. And I accidentally said, you would sign over 50% of the show. Now, what's the difference between what I just said and this? I meant to only go up to 50% of the show. The contract said that it would take 50% of the show. Now, when you're watching this, I swear to God, I did not mean that. Alright? But however, the contract did go by, and I honestly didn't even realize that till now. Otherwise, I would have changed something. But, yeah, realizing what happened, like, 80% now, meaning that, Miguel can still continue his own version of Jailbroken outside of the cinematic universe. However, it meant that we can also do that. We can also do Jailbroken with our things, with the characters that we own. But however, I explained to you how Miguel came into play. I explained to you how I own Paul Diamante and Officer Ty. How does Carson Hunter come into play? It is actually something that does not belong in that contract and actually belongs between two people, Miguel and Jaden. What does this mean? Well, originally, here's how 50% of the show went to not the show, the character went to Jaden. Now, here's the thing. Miguel and Jaden, I'm pretty sure those two helped try to create this jailbroken thing. What I think happened is that this is what has been claimed. Jaden Subas created Carson Hudson, or Hunter, whatever you want to call him, Hudson or Hunter. I prefer Hudson because right now I'm used to that, but in reality it's called Hunter, so don't mind me. So, obviously, and here's the thing, he created Carson Hunter. They were under, at the time, Jaden was under the Modium banner, but Miguel wasn't. When Miguel was signed on, we have this thing about fair use and property use. Meaning that he helped create that character. Alright, he basically played that character. He helped create it. Meaning that between you two, you guys can split those rights. Split them, and each of them will belong to you. Meaning that you can do whatever you want with Carson Hunter existing in the same universe, and you can do whatever you want with Carson Hunter existing in the same universe. Now, remember how I said that the rights reverted back to Miguel? Here's the thing. Why, well, at the time, I made this deal saying you have to use Carson Hunter in 1 month, otherwise the rights would revert back to Miguel. And he said, yeah, sure, but Jaden didn't do it. He did not use Carson Hunter. So, because I had, like, a fishy feeling, like, okay, yeah, he still has the 50%, he can do whatever he wants with the show, the character, but I don't feel like you should have exclusivity to that character because, of course, Jaden helped create it. So, I made a little thing in the contract where it said that the rights would revert back to Modium. As, like, kind of like a safe, like, not a safe, like, kind of like a bank. We would hold on to those rights till we really figured out what to do with them. And, of course, when Miguel left, we still had that 50%, so we just decided to give it back to Jaden. However, we also, judging about the deal, we also had another 80% of that. No, we also had another 30% of the deal, of course, marketing and advertising, meaning now we had 80% of that character, which Miguel can also still use. He just can't, like, of course, market and advertise Carson Hunter. And, of course, why would he want to do that? So, yeah, that happened. But recently, Miguel said that he didn't want it. Like, he said that we could just have Carson Hunter, so I guess the rights, full rights for Carson Hunter went to us, meaning now that we own the character. But what he didn't realize is that before, he could still use that character. He could still use Carson Hunter. The only difference is we can also still use it. And since he gave us that character, we kind of closed off on a deal to where he could use Officer Ty, but since he gave us this character, we said, alright, why do we have to provide you with something? We just took that Officer Ty back. Alright, so I explained to you how we have 80% of the show. I explained to you how we have these four characters. However, there's one little thing I haven't explained. How can I put Miguel Escobar, how can that right work to put Miguel Escobar in Jailbroken? Because according to Miguel, I cannot do that. Well, that's kind of the thing. Miguel lives in the Astonic Elite universe, meaning that he could go to Shady O'Malley's world, he can go to Countdown's world, he can go to I don't know, Supernova's world. He can do that. But this is how it comes into play. Jailbroken is its own world in the Modium Cinematic Universe. And the contract states that these two characters meaning like, no, all four of those characters can go anywhere in the Astonic Elite universe if felt appropriate. So, it's his own world, it's in the Astonic Elite universe. That means he can, like, Miguel can go into the Jailbroken universe, and that's how that goes into play. Because, really, there's no exclusivity. We can bring any character and put him in any world if felt appropriate. And obviously this feels appropriate because that is the main character of the Jailbroken universe. So, as of yes, in our whole version, Miguel does not really count as a character in the Jailbroken universe, but we can use him. We can use him in that world. Now, I want to say that's how, in reality, everything was brought to us. That's how this whole thing started. But for say that, is there like a revert back option? Is there a way that Miguel can get these rights back? As far as I'm concerned, he can only get 30% of them back in 7 months. Because when he first signed on to Modium, the contract, there was an expiration to that contract, and so was a 30% of that contract. So in reality, 30% of the entire Apprentice Op Studios thing, meaning Jailbroken, Hacksmith, whatever you want to say, even updates, would go back to Miguel. However, we would still hold on to owning 50% of the show, doing whatever we want with it, and he can still create his own universe, except when those 30% revert back to him, he can advertise it, and etc. Should Miguel keeps demanding for these rights back, like all of them, but in reality, we're gonna keep 50% of it, and I say this for one reason. That 50% of it is the only way we can do this new Jailbroken thing. It's the only way we can do cop ops. It's the only way that we're considering a Carson Hunter thing. We're not gonna say exactly. It could be a series, it could be a film. We're not gonna say exactly what we have in store for that character. We can say that he will be in Cop Ops, and we can say that he will be in Jailbroken. So, how would those rights come into play? Wait, what was I just talking about? Shoot, I don't even remember. Shoot, I hate it when this happens. How do those rights come into play? I guess I can talk about how, like, Miguel can use it, his own character. Now, here's the thing. He had the rights to use Officer Tyne Carson Hunter, but for whatever reason, he gave us that character. And we only said that we could use the character. We don't own it. But giving us that character, how he stated, meaning that now we own it, we don't need to provide him with Officer Tyne anymore. So that came back to exclusivity. It's kind of transparent. We can use Miguel Escobar, the character. Yeah. That's how it goes. He can use it too. He owns it though. We just can use it. But I'm also going to explain real quick, like, what Cop Ops can go, why these characters cannot go into that universe. It's not because we own the rights, it's because how he's handling Jailbroken now. And I'll explain that in another update. Peace.